The Jackson Hole Moose are a hockey team based in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which is only a few miles away from the infamous Grand Teton Mountain Range. A small team in a small town, in a small populated area of America, still has sold-out crowds every Friday and Saturday from the start of winter to the beginning of spring. The local team may seem small, but it actually has lots of history behind it. They've gone through bad times and great times, respectively. Without further ado, let's start from start. The first official hockey team of Jackson Hole started in 1976, called the Stampede. But even before this, the Hole, as locals call it, had hockey games in the 1930s, and later on loosely organized attempts at a real team were made in the 1950s. Back to the 70s, a hockey-loving local named Skip Wright Clark got together with his hockey buddies Tom Evans, Dave Pfeiffer, Paul Rice, Paul Gilroy, Porgy McClelland, Scott Smith, Phelps Swift, Larry Anderson, and Jeff Hewitt to attempt to form a full-fledged hockey team in Jackson Hole. Wright Clark states that a good team that could get fans on weekends was his first vision. It all started in 1976, Wright Clark remembers. I was on the Parks and Rec board, and I begged them for $400 to build a rink, which they finally gave me. I then went to Jackson Lumber and conned free wood out of them for the boards and used the money on jerseys. Wright Clark then went to an area where the town would, years later, build a swimming facility. Skip asked then-Mayor Ralph Gill for permission to build a rink over in that area. Ralph Gill agreed, and they finished the rink ahead of the build schedule, and the Jackson Hole Stampede was born. After a few years in the town, they moved to a different rink in nearby Wilson, Wyoming, where Wilson's rodeo grounds were. The rink is still open and is put up every winter by Skip Wright Clark and the Parks and Recreation Department. The team tried to coax teams from Casper, Wyoming, Salt Lake, Utah, Boise, Idaho, and even Sun Valley, Idaho. We just couldn't get many teams to come here and play us because we never knew what the weather was going to be like, Wright Clark said. Sun Valley would always come because they didn't care if we couldn't play. They would just hang out and drink. It's sort of comical to hear, but that's just how it went. The history of the team is really a rags to riches story. According to Skip Wright Clark's friend Dick Rice, we cleaned the ice with a modified tractor, not a Zamboni. A fun fact about the tractor is that Jane Pillsbury Resource shared the tractor and donned a pair of goalie pads for every game. What more could you expect from the Equality State? According to the Jackson Hole Moose Guidebook, the Stampede was formidable back then, usually getting the better of teams like the Casper Lynx, Salt Lake Flyers, and Boise Blades. The Stampede won 4 out of 5 State Jackson's toughest foe then, as it is today, was the Sun Valley Suns. Self-proclaimed kings of amateur hockey, the Suns were as tough to play against then as they are today. That will do it for part 1 of the Jackson Hole Moose hockey team's rich history. In the next episode, we will get into the 90s and early 2000s Moose and slowly get closer to the modern era. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you have any questions or answers to my questions. Anyways, see you in the next one. Goodbye.